So quick update on the G35X project. I had a little bit of trouble getting the alternator out because, as you can see here, the radiator core support is damaged. It looked like it probably hit a curb or something, and this was actually pushed back by about an inch. So the radiator was pushed, the bottom of the radiator was pushed back. So it was making it really hard to pull the alternator out. So once I kind of figured out that, and I was able to pull the radiator forward back where it belonged, then I was able to um, get to the alternator and get it out. Um, the alternator job was not terribly easy, but I just ended up buying a new one, and now that's up and running again. The charging system problem is solved. The next thing that I had to tackle was the exhaust system. The exhaust system basically just fell out of this car with a little bit of wiggling. Um, so the bolts on the cats were pretty rusted. I had to grind those off and just basically cut everything out. Once I had the alternator in and the exhaust cut off, I was able to at least drive the car. So I took it for a couple of laps. It's really loud, obviously without any exhaust on it at all, but everything seems to work. The wipers, the lights, the turn signals, the radio, power windows, door locks, key fob, everything really seems to work on this car. So I was actually pretty surprised about that. I did end up driving it over to the muffler shop to put the new system on, just because I couldn't get under the car enough to get the bolts all the way out of the cat and to get the flange off the rear part of the muffler. So we're at the local junkyard today. I'm looking for a couple of pieces for the G35X project. Mostly, I see on their website that they've got a couple of these cars here. Mostly I want to see what kind of shape they're in and what's available. And if I can find a couple of things that are useful, I'll pick them up. So I really like these self-service junkyards because you're not really looking for anything specific. You don't go in and tell them apart and they pull it off a shelf somewhere. You get to go and walk around and see what you need, see what's available, and all the prices are fixed based on the part, not necessarily from what it came from. So I can get a power steering pump from an Infiniti G35X, or I could get a power steering pump from a Bentley if they had one, and it would be 20 bucks. For the most part, I'm not looking for anything specific here. I'm just looking for what's available. And this is the 2005 G35X that they have. This was probably the closest match to my car. Most of the parts should be interchangeable. This is also four-wheel drive, also automatic. It's the same engine. I believe that there's not many differences between this car and my car. As you can see, this one's been picked over a bit, but it still has a lot of parts available on it in case I need something. On my list of things to maybe get off this car is the power steering pump, just because mine is a little bit noisy, but it's still working right now. Still has a transfer case. The transmission is missing the pan. I did see this. Maybe this will come in handy at some point. And then I just wandered around and looked at all the other parts available. So I ended up picking up this roof rack from a 2006 Pontiac Torrent, and I'm going to try to figure out if I can make this fit on the G35X. The other thing I grabbed was a tuned mass damper that goes on the back of the transfer case. Mine had rusted and some of the weights had fallen off and it kind of sprung apart. I was able to find one there that was in good shape, and I picked that up. And the junkyard considers that a bracket, so it was like $2, and otherwise I don't even think I'd be able to find that thing. So far I've changed the alternator. I've also changed one of the rear brake calipers that was sticking. In the front I've changed both wheel bearings as well as an axle shaft. Underneath I've changed the entire exhaust system, the Y pipe, as well as the resonator pipe. I also changed the front and rear differential oil, the engine oil, and the transfer case oil. These lights were extremely clouded and yellowed, so I decided to give this plastics a shot. I think it actually turned out pretty decent for no more than about 5 minutes worth of work. I probably could polish them up a little bit more, but they're good enough for now. After I did all the repairs, I was able to take the car out for a couple of test drives to make sure that all the mechanical systems were working. The ABS is working, traction control is working, as well as the four-wheel drive system. So right now I'm pretty happy with the condition of the vehicle mechanically. Cosmetically it's still really ugly, but I don't really care because this is primarily intended to be a winter beater. At this point I've got about as much into the car as I paid for it in terms of parts, but I'm really happy with where it's at mechanically. So now I want to start thinking about what I want to do with it cosmetically, and I'm really leaning towards Safari build. A couple pictures I found on the internet. Let me know what you think in the comments, and maybe you've got a few more ideas.